The planet was dead. Ash-colored clouds rolled endlessly overhead, smothering the light of a pale red sun. The wind howled like some mournful phantom, scouring black sand dunes and whispering through the skeletal ruins of a long-extinct civilization. The air was thin, bitter, and tasted faintly metallic through the filters of the suit. Dr. Celine Kale stood on the ridge, staring down at what had once been a city. It was a graveyard now, stone towers snapped like broken bones, streets half buried in volcanic dust, and strange angular statues that watched silently from every plaza. This place, this whole planet, had been dead for at least 50,000 years. But something had changed. "Field team, report," Celine said into her comms. A chorus of voices answered back, clipped and professional. Marines patrolling the perimeter, drones scanning the ruins for movement, sensors humming as they fed telemetry to the science team. The mission was supposed to be routine: survey, collect samples, and confirm the anomaly that Earth's deep space probes had detected months ago. Then Jonah Vex, her assistant, had called her to the excavation site. Celine made her way down the slope, boots crunching on the dark grit. The air was colder near the base of the ruined temple, and a faint vibration seemed to run through the ground with every step. When she reached the pit her team had cleared, she saw what Jonah had found, and her breath caught. At the center of the crater lay a sphere. It wasn't just a piece of debris. It wasn't even buried, it looked as though the ground itself had spat it out. The object was the size of a human torso, metallic but flawless, its surface rippling with faint iridescent light. Strange glyphs were etched into it, running in spirals that seemed to rearrange themselves when stared at too long. Jonah turned to her, his voice trembling despite his attempt to sound calm. "It wasn't here last week. Scans showed nothing under the surface. This thing just appeared." Celine crouched near the rim of the pit, her visor glowing as her suit's scanner swept the artifact. "Composition unknown," her AI assistant reported in her ear. "Energy signature, extraordinary. Recommend containment procedures." The hum of the artifact was so low it was almost beyond hearing, but Celine could feel it in her bones. It was alive. Or at least, awake. Jonah shifted nervously. "Ma'am, maybe we should call this in and wait for reinforcements. This thing's making the sensors go crazy." Celine didn't answer right away. Her gloved hand hovered just above its surface. The heat radiating from it was impossible. This planet's surface temperature was sub-zero, yet the object was warm, as though it had been sitting in the sun for hours. Then it pulsed. The glow intensified, rippling like water, and a deep vibration rolled through the ground. The air itself seemed to thicken. "Fall back!" Celine shouted, but she was too late. The artifact erupted in a column of light. It was blinding, pure white, piercing the sky like a spear and tearing through the ashen clouds. The entire valley lit up like daylight. Every suit alarm in the team went off at once. Radiation spikes. Magnetic field disturbances. Comms interference. Celine shielded her visor and shouted over the comms. "Report." One of the Marines' voices crackled back, panicked. "Dr. Kale, look up." Celine followed the beam of light skyward. Above them, the clouds churned, boiling as if stirred by some colossal hand. And then, one by one, shapes began to emerge from the storm. Dark, angular shapes, glinting with cold metal. Ships. Not human ships. There were dozens of them, maybe hundreds, their silhouettes blotting out the sickly red sun. They were not in orbit, they had not warped in, they were simply there, as if they had always been there, hidden just out of sight until this moment. "Dr. Kale," Jonah whispered over the comms, "those ships weren't there 5 minutes ago." Her throat went dry. "No," she said softly, "they weren't." The artifact pulsed again, faster this time, like a heartbeat. The alien fleet began to descend. Celine's training kicked in. "Everyone, fall back to the shuttle now." Her team scrambled, equipment abandoned, boots hammering on the black stone. Dust swirled as the first alien craft broke through the cloud layer, descending like predators. "Command won't believe this," Jonah said as they ran. "They'll believe it," Celine snapped, "because we're getting out alive and telling them ourselves." The artifact's glow intensified until the whole valley seemed to pulse with it. Something was happening, something bigger than a simple discovery. Celine knew, with a cold certainty, that they hadn't just found this thing. They had triggered it. As they reached the shuttle, the ground beneath them trembled violently, throwing several Marines off balance. Celine turned back once, and saw something she would never forget. The sphere was rising into the air, floating, its glyphs blazing with white fire. And somewhere, impossibly far away, Celine could feel something answering it. Something vast. Something human. The shuttle roared to life as Celine strapped herself into the co-pilot seat, her hands shaking. Outside, the alien fleet continued to descend, blotting out the sky with their massive forms. They were unlike anything she had ever seen, spindly yet menacing, with hulls that seemed to absorb light, and a strange bioluminescent glow pulsing along their spines. "Liftoff!" Jonah shouted from behind her. The shuttle engines screamed, dust billowing as they clawed for altitude. Celine gritted her teeth as the inertial dampeners strained to keep the cabin stable. Through the cockpit canopy, she saw one of the alien ships pivot, its weapon systems locking onto them. A flash of green light tore past their port side, close enough to rattle the hull. "They're firing on us," one of the Marines yelled. Celine slammed her fist against the console. "Send a full distress call to Fleet Command, now." Jonah's fingers flew over the controls. "Transmitting, but comms interference is heavy. We might not punch through." Another blast streaked past them, closer this time. The aliens weren't trying to scare them away, they were trying to erase witnesses. Then, without warning, the artifact's light flared again. The beam of energy that had pierced the clouds widened into a massive pillar, so bright that it lit up the entire hemisphere. It wasn't just a signal anymore, it was a summons. Celine felt it deep in her chest, an almost physical pressure, like something was resonating with her very DNA. Her suit AI was screaming warnings about gravitational spikes, spatial distortions, and unknown energy surges. And then, the stars themselves seemed to twist. "Jonah," Celine whispered, "are you seeing this?" "Yeah," he said, his voice barely audible over the alarms. Space above Erivos, rippled, then tore open. A breach formed in orbit, a shimmering scar in the fabric of reality. Through it, something enormous emerged. Not alien. Human. The first vessel was titanic, dwarfing even the alien fleet. Its hull was jet black, plated with matte armor that drank in starlight, broken only by the burning blue glow of its drives. Its shape was brutal, utilitarian, less a ship, more a fortress forged for war. It was followed by another. And another. Within moments, a formation of colossal warships filled the sky, forming a shield wall between the alien fleet and the planet. Celine's breath caught in her throat. She had seen schematics of these ships before, in classified archives. They were never supposed to exist outside black-budget myth. The Stormbreaker Armada. Humanity's ultimate deterrent. Legends told of its construction at the dawn of the interstellar era, in secret shipyards orbiting rogue stars. It was said to be an answer to a threat so great that Earth's governments had buried all records of it, scattering the fleet across hidden caches in deep space, waiting for the day it would be needed again. Apparently, today was that day. The alien ships hesitated. Their advance slowed. Then they broke formation, scattering like startled insects as the lead human vessel turned its massive forward batteries toward them. A voice came through Celine's comms, deep and commanding, resonating with authority. "This is Admiral Rafe of the Stormbreaker fleet. All ground personnel, hold position. Extraction is inbound. Do not engage. Celine let out a shaky breath. Copy that, Admiral, she replied. The shuttle's sensors lit up as hundreds of human fighter craft launched from the warships, streaking through the sky like silver knives. They formed a deadly screen around the planet, their engines leaving contrails of white fire as they locked onto alien targets. The first salvo was devastating. Bolts of plasma lanced out from the Stormbreakers, crossing the void in a fraction of a second. Alien ships disintegrated on impact, burning up in the planet's atmosphere like falling stars. The aliens tried to return fire, but the human fleet's shields flared, holding firm. The Stormbreakers pressed forward with unrelenting precision, cutting through the enemy with methodical efficiency. Inside the shuttle, Jonah stared in awe. We're winning? Celine nodded, her heart pounding. No, she said softly. We're reminding them who we are. Then something unexpected happened. The artifact inside the temple pit, still hovering, still glowing, sent out another pulse. But this time, it wasn't a beam of light. It was a wave. A ripple of energy radiated outward from Erevos 4, washing across the system like a tide. Every screen in the shuttle flickered. The human fleet's transponders lit up with new data streams. Admiral Rafe's voice returned, but now there was tension in it. All units, priority alert. Artifact signal has escalated. Unknown payload detected. Possible second phase activation. Celine felt her stomach drop. Second phase, she whispered. The ground beneath them shook violently as the artifact's glow changed, turning from white to deep gold. Symbols spiraled faster across its surface until they became a blur. Jonah's face went pale. Dr. Kale, what if this thing isn't just summoning help? Before Celine could answer, the sky tore open again. But this time, what came through wasn't human. Massive alien vessels, far larger than the first wave, emerged from deep space, behemoths bristling with weapons. They were not scouts. They were executioners. The Stormbreakers immediately shifted formation, moving to intercept. The void above the planet lit up with plasma fire and missile trails as the largest space battle humanity had seen in centuries erupted. Celine gripped her harness as the shuttle was buffeted by shockwaves from the orbital bombardment. Doctor! Jonah shouted over the noise. If the artifact's the key, what happens if the aliens destroy it? Celine stared out the viewport, her mind racing. Then, she said grimly, they might kill whatever it just woke up. And I have a feeling we really don't want that to happen. The sky burned. From the cockpit window, Celine watched as the void above Erevos 4 became a maelstrom of light and death. Human Stormbreakers and alien dreadnoughts clashed in silence, their weapons flashing like distant suns. The planet trembled under the fury of orbital fire, each explosion lighting the night sky with terrible beauty. Shuttle vigilant, hold position, Admiral Rafe's voice ordered through the comms, calm but heavy with strain. Extraction window compromised. We are holding the line. Celine's hands tightened on her harness. She wanted to help. She wanted to do something. But what could one scientist do as two armadas fought for the fate of a world? Her eyes drifted back to the artifact, still hovering in the pit below, glowing now with a steady golden radiance. Its hum was deafening, vibrating through her skull, through her bones. It's still building power, Jonah muttered, staring at his datapad. If I'm reading this right, whatever it's doing, it's not finished. Celine looked from the artifact to the battle raging in orbit. The aliens knew. That was why they were here. Not for the humans. Not for Erevos 4. For that. They're trying to destroy it before it completes whatever it's doing, Celine said, her voice quiet but certain. A shockwave rippled across the sky as one of the alien capital ships was struck dead center by the Stormbreaker Vanguard's main railgun. The blast shattered the dreadnought into molten shards, which rained down like meteors. For a moment, it felt like victory. Then the alien flagship arrived. It was monstrous, easily twice the length of the largest Stormbreaker. Its hull shimmered with a strange distortion, like it was phasing between realities. Its weapons lit up, firing beams of sickly green energy that carved through the human formation. One Stormbreaker went dark, spinning out of control before detonating in a blinding flash. "Fleet Aegis is down," a voice cried over comms. Celine's gut twisted. Even humanity's most secret and powerful fleet was losing ground. And then the artifact pulsed again. This time, the light was so intense Celine had to shield her eyes. The wave of energy spread out from the planet once more, only now it carried a resonance that made her teeth ache. The ground cracked in spiderweb patterns around the pit as something vast and ancient stirred beneath the surface. Jonah's datapad went haywire. "I'm getting seismic readings all over the planet." A low rumble shook the air as the earth split open. From the fissures, structures began to rise, massive pillars of obsidian metal, hundreds of meters tall. They weren't ruins. They weren't tombs. They were silos. Each one opened with a hiss of escaping gas, and from within, dark shapes began to rise into the air. Sleek, angular, bristling with weapons, machines built for war. Celine's breath caught. It's an armory." One after another, the constructs lifted skyward, engines igniting in blue fire. There were dozens. Hundreds. They climbed through the clouds, forming into squadrons. And then they spoke. Not in words, but in sound. A deep, resonant tone rolled across the planet, echoing like the roar of some ancient god. The Stormbreaker fleet's comms crackled as Admiral Rafe's voice came through, tight with astonishment. "Unidentified fleet emerging from planet surface, registering as human-compatible IFF. Repeat, planetary defenses are ours." Celine felt a surge of awe. This wasn't just an artifact. This was a failsafe, left behind by a civilization older than humanity itself, keyed to respond to human DNA, perhaps even to protect it. And now it was awake. Above them, the newly risen planetary armada broke through the atmosphere and joined the battle. Their weapons were devastating, beams of white energy that sliced through alien shields like paper. Within minutes, the tide turned. The alien dreadnoughts began to fall back, their formations breaking as they attempted to retreat. But the Stormbreakers didn't let them escape. "Admiral Rafe to all units," the comms thundered. "No quarter. Drive them out of this system." The combined human and ancient fleet pressed forward with merciless precision. Alien ships died one after another, burning silently in the void. The flagship tried to jump to warp, but 3 of the awakened war machines targeted it simultaneously. Their beams converged, carving through the massive ship until it split apart in a flash of green fire. When the last alien ship exploded, silence fell. The battle was over. Celine felt her breath leave her in a shuddering exhale. Jonah slumped back against the bulkhead, his eyes wide, his datapad forgotten in his lap. "They're gone," he said softly. "No," Celine corrected, staring up at the sky where the battle had been. "They're not gone. They're running. And they'll tell others what happened here." Admiral Rafe's voice came back over comms, calmer now. "Ground team, this is Stormbreaker Command. The artifact has been secured. Extraction is inbound. You've done well." Celine looked once more at the pit where the artifact hovered, now dim and quiet, its task complete. She realized that it hadn't just called the Stormbreakers, it had called everything humanity had forgotten it possessed. It had reminded the galaxy that humanity was not prey. When the shuttle finally broke through the atmosphere, Celine saw it all laid out before her, the Stormbreaker Armada, now holding formation around the planet, and the newly awakened defense fleet, like silent sentinels awaiting orders. Jonah let out a low whistle. "You think we'll keep them active this time?" Celine smiled faintly, though there was no humor in it. We'd better, she said. Because whatever those aliens were, they'll be back. And next time, they'll come with more. She turned back to the viewport, watching as the black-armored Stormbreakers turned their titanic hulls outward, ready for whatever came next. The galaxy had been warned. And this time, humanity was ready.